don't know exactly the date of my birthday, but I do know that I was already 75 years on this earth. My parents wanted me to be like my other two brothers, that is getting formal education. But since I was a child, I liked drawing more than going to school. I did not finish my study. Therefore, I take my hat off for clever people. Well, I had a hard time at the beginning as a painter. Even to get food for my wife, my daughter, myself, there was sometimes not enough money. But then things went better. I bought a car, but could not afford a driver. Lucky Jono came along. He was willing to work without a salary. I promised him every year one painting. Now, wherever I go, he goes with me. He is in fact more than just a driver. He helps to give the colors I want. He cooks and knew all my secrets. Maybe in England you would say he is a butler. Now he also has an assistant. In fact, Jono is very clever. Every year he takes one of my paintings and sells it for a good price. He has his own house, his own car, but he deserves it. For more than 20 years he has been part of my life. When I paint, I have to do it non-stop. I just follow my feelings. I cannot stop. I have to go on. With dark colors, it is easier to express my feeling. But now I try to use bright colors. It is much more difficult to get the same effect with light colors. Before I know, I use dark colors again. But I have to keep it on trying. Then comes the moment I feel I have to stop. Whether the painting is finished or not, well, the painting is finished at the moment because I cannot change anything more. But now, for me, comes the most difficult thing. I must judge my own painting. I always judge my painting in two ways. First, I see if it is good enough. Did I make any mistakes? Here I act like a jury in an exhibition. Then comes the difficult part. Do I find the feeling which I wanted to put it in it, back in this painting. Here I have to be honest to myself. It is not easy to be your own judge. But of one thing I am sure, what I see is the result of my feeling, emotion of that moment. And that moment has passed. I can't do nothing anymore. Well, some people said that my paintings looks like, or a bit just like Van Gogh. Well, it can be true. Why not? I think the reason is whether Van Gogh or my person, we are both expressionists. We are both sailing in the same boat of expressionism. And if there is some similarity, it is natural because we are sailing in the same boat. It is different with Pablo Picasso. Pablo Picasso is a very clever man. I am not clever. I feel myself that I have not enough brain. And in fact, I am dropped out from the high school. So it means that I have not enough brain. But I am sure that I have better feeling than a good brain. So actually I wish there is a school where you can go in and develop your feeling, but there is no school. Every school is only for developing the brain. So Pablo Picasso is different with me. Pablo Picasso is clever. He paints with his brain. But doesn't no matter whether we are different from each other. I like his work because he himself, as a person, as an artist, he is a good and strong artist. So the result of his work, the result of a brain work, it is a good one. I love my wife Mariatti very much. We have been married 50 years now. She got only one child, a daughter, but many grandchildren, even great-grandchildren. In my garden, I built a house which I designed myself. Actually, I forget to ask for a building permit, but the authorities were very kind. They let me keep it. And for my wife, I made a private room. One of my favorite hobbies is watching video, sometimes more than one a day. It does not matter what kind of films, good ones or bad ones, with a lot of action and violence, because I believe if you see only the good ones, you do not know the difference between good and bad. They also say video has a bad influence on moral. Well, it all depends. As I said, my wife has only one child, a daughter, Kartika. She can have no more children, but she loves children. So one day she said to me, "Papi, I want children around me." "Okay," I said, "let us adopt a child." "No," she said, "I want a child where your blood streams in it." "Well, if you really mean it, I must have a second wife, and since it is your idea, you must find me one. But I have two conditions. First, she should be a healthy woman, because we want strong children, and secondly, she should be less intellectual than you. So my wife went to the village and looked for a second wife. She came back with a young woman from the kampung. Iem is her name. She cannot read and cannot write. For her, I also built a house not far away. Around 6 o'clock in the evening, I go to her place, and around 6 o'clock in the morning, I go back to my first wife. Iem got 3 children, 2 boys and a girl. Most of the time, they are in the house of my first wife. Well, that is enough about my love life. For me, painting is still the most important thing in my life. Well, actually, I compare doing painting is for me just the same as I am eating. If I am hungry, my stomach, well, I go to the kitchen and take my food. And that means that I am hungry for food. But I am also always hungry to paint, to put out my expression, my wishes. And then I look for a subject. If I get it, I start to paint. But sometimes it happens I don't find the subject. Then I have to postpone it. I can postpone, then I postpone it for the next day or the next week. It doesn't matter how long it will be, because I am the hungry to paint, it grows until the moment that I must do it. Then I do it, I paint. If there is no subject, I paint my own face. If I do my own painting, I like to paint myself with my pipe, because for me, my pipe is not just a pipe, just an object. It has become a friend. You cannot separate Affandi from his pipe. As soon as I put my name on the canvas and the date, it means I have satisfied my hunger to paint. If you compare it with hungry for food, my stomach is full. The subject I painted was the food for that moment. Yeah, speaking about the subject, I can't make a painting without studying the subject first. It takes time. To do the painting is easy, it's only for 1 hour. But to study, to observe the subject, that takes hours, days, sometimes weeks. But as soon as I know, I feel myself one with the subject, then I start to paint. Suppose the subject is a horse. So I feel one with the subject. While painting, I feel as I am the horse itself. You see? And this is not easy to do a painting. Anyhow, in my case. My first painting were very naturalistic. I painted myself, my wife, Mariati, or my daughter Kartika. She also became a painter, still very much under the influence of her father. But I am sure one day she will find her own way, her own style. At the moment, she is in Europe, Vienna, studying restoration of painting. A lot of my early paintings were in very bad shape. Anatomy I learned not at a school, but by looking carefully at my own body. This is a painting during the Revolution. We also made a lot of posters. In 1950, I had the opportunity to study in India. There, they let me free to travel through India to discover India for myself. Next, I went to London, and of course, I visited Paris. The art critic Herbert Reed considered my style as a new way of expressionism. But I considered myself as a humanist painter. Little by little, I got known. I have received many awards and have been honored by many countries. Like here in Belgium, I got the Dag Hammarskjöld Prize. Before that, I received a prize at the Venice Biennale. I must say, the moment I receive prizes, I feel happy. But the next day, those feelings are gone with the wind, because getting reward and honors are not my aim in my life. I also got Dr. Honoris Causa from the University of Singapore and a reward from my own government. Well, I am grateful. But because everything is in the hands of God, I went to Mecca and became a Haji. Most of my inspirations I get in Bali. That is why if I go there, I take lots of canvas. A trip to Bali is always like an expedition. If my son has no school, I like to take him with me. Last year, I painted a barong. That is a kind of mystical dragon in the Balinese barong dance. They considered it holy. Therefore, I should have followed the rituals, but I did not. I do not know, but I was not able to paint a barong. This time, I promised myself to follow all the rituals. Who knows it will help?
Wong sudah mau wong swasti sudah mau wong ranging safra musiwa merta ye nama wong toya mau wong sang nanti bang pada asam nanti mudera aye nama wong asam wong mangkong long umpat durgel udera kala aye nama suaka wong orang wistaye orang ye nama pakye nama orang ye nama orang sukla ye nama orang pakye nama orang udaya nama orang
Ya, kuning manis, kuning manis.
Om Namo Bhagavati Make Berawo ya nama umpat Om Ayuda Wadadartaya Maka Wiraya Trisula Astaya nama umpat Om Durga Dewi Jamudi nama umpat.
Ayo, dekat, dekat. Putih, kuning, itu kuning manis. Ayo dekat. Ah, bagus. Oke. where it seems the gods were pleased. However, not without an offer. While I was painting, the hands of the young priest started bleeding. But we were allowed to go on in peace.
Rawi maka Durga Dewi karala mungkin tidak karena bisa naya nama umpat.
One of my favorite subjects to paint is cockfighting. Not because I like cockfighting, but cockfighting for me is the symbol of cruelty of man. Animals are used to satisfy their hunger to gamble. They do not care whether the animals get killed as long as they can gamble. When people are cruel, they say, he is like an animal. But I would like to turn it around. Animals are human. Well, I sympathize with the cocks. I am very much attracted by the life of a fisherman. They work very hard and still they are very poor. Struggling for life at sea. I respect them very much. I cannot paint in a studio. That is why I never had a studio. I always paint in the open air. Here in Bali, they do not disturb me. The subject of this painting is footsteps in the sand. Who knows, maybe my son will follow my steps and become a painter. As I said, I like to paint in the open sky. I admire the sun. The sun for me is the spirit for life. Without the sun, one cannot live. That is the reason why in many of my paintings appears the sun. It also means warm. It makes it hotter. I sometimes put more than one sun. Often I paint the sun blue. Then people say, Mr. Affandi, you are a liar. The sun is not blue. The sun is yellow or red. I said, indeed, in the morning the sun is yellow. By sunset it is red. But if you have the courage to look at the sun at noon, it is blue. Try it. I like to sit and drink with people. But nowadays you have to be careful. So many pickpockets around. You never can tell. The wayang or puppet shadow play is a very important form of art, especially the storyteller We call them dalang. They are real artists. In Bali, I often visit other painters. I consider Hendra as a good artist. He paints completely different from me. He can work for days, and for one painting, I have no patience. Well, everybody has his own way. Well, I have visited Spain, and when I was there, I have seen a museum full of the painting of what is his name again? Greco? Yeah. No. Well, he is real good artist. If I compare with him, I am too small. It's too small. I admire him very much. I don't know. But compared to Rembrandt is much greater, but I don't like him as much as Greco, because Rembrandt is, for me, just like a Superman, and I don't like Superman. Well, I must tell you that as a painter, I am always the loser, because I am never satisfied with my work. There is always something missing which I wanted. But then, what can I do? I always have to say, next time better. I am an old man now, 75 years. Actually, I could die at any moment, but I would like to die while painting, before my canvas. But that is in the hands of God. However, if I feel my end coming, I have asked to bring me here in my museum. I want to spend the last moment of my life in this place. I want to lay down here, surrounded by my first wife, Mariati, her daughter Kartika, with all her children and grandchildren, Iam, my second wife, but also for another reason. I want to lay in my museum. I want to be surrounded by my work, my paintings, because every painting I consider as my own child. More than 50 years has passed since this painting. I am not satisfied. Maybe I will never be satisfied, but I must keep on trying. I even try it in stone and clay.